Welcome to another exciting episode of Talking TVET. I am your host, Phil Henderson, here to give you some more information about the TVET Transformation Project. Today, I am joined with Mr. Perry Thomas, who serves as the Executive Director of the St. Lucia Council for Technical and Vocational Education and Training. Under his leadership, the council focuses on developing a skilled workforce through the adoption of national and Caribbean vocational qualifications, the NVQ or the CVQ. And if this is your first time joining in on Talking TVET, be sure to subscribe and like and share this episode with anybody who is a stakeholder in this project, who can be a parent, a teacher. I think this is information that is relevant to anybody. Today we are going to delve a little bit more into the St. Lucia Council for TVET's role, its purpose. I see we have some notes that we shall discuss the CVQ and the NVQ qualifications a little bit. Perhaps Mr. Thomas could help me out with that, and we'll take it from there and see where the conversation goes. Talking TVET is now available on all major podcasting platforms. So that would be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Samsung's podcasting app, Apple Music, television, radio, and YouTube, of course, like I mentioned before. So if you're on one of the digital channels, be sure to subscribe. It would really help me and it would really help the channel grow. Some quick news before we begin. Talking TVET was listed as St. Lucia's number 3 top podcast at the time that we had recorded, and the statistics came out a few days ago. Of course, we aiming for that number 1 spot, and it is currently St. Lucia's number 1 podcast in the society and culture section. So extremely happy to announce all of that. We open for that number 1 spot all throughout. We're not settling for no number 3, number 1 throughout everything. So anyway, thank you, Mr. Thomas, for taking the time from your busy schedule to talk to me about this.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to Talking TVET.
Yeah, morning. I'm happy to be here with you. It is a wonderful thing for us to have that discussion because, as you know, TVET is now in the forefront of everything,
yes,
especially in our education system, in our industry. And so right now we have an opportunity to put what was in the shadows into the limelight. So I'm very happy to be here.
I was telling the team I think 2 weeks ago, I happened to be at a consultation between the associations in St. Lucia, so Manufacturing Association, National Consumer Association, and the others, and the Ministry of Tourism and Commerce. And you would be surprised when people were mentioning initiatives that are currently taking place. TVET, the TVET project, the TVET Transformation Project, at least for conversations I was privy to, unprompted, TVET came up at least 3 times in my presence. So that gave me a lot of hope and courage, knowing that I'm part of this movement and this podcast especially.
Okay.
That gave me a lot of encouragement.
Well, I'm happy that you have had that experience, because that experience tells you that the work of the TVET unit, the work of the council, the work of all the institutions, that's even extra-regionally, has impacted industry, has impacted the various training providers across the board. And so right now, St. Lucia has an opportunity to actually take TVET and make it the thing that causes economic development to blossom, and our people themselves to grow in their occupational area and to get themselves certified and be able to be mobile, in the marketplace. That is a very good thing at this point in time.
Tell me a little bit about your role as ED, or Executive Director of the Council, and what is that like for you?
Okay, as Executive Director of the Council, I have that responsibility to ensure that the Council fulfill its mandate as the coordinating unit for TVET within the island. That role also takes me to be involved at a regional level. And when I say so, we talk about engaging in other activities of other NTAs within, together with other NTAs of the various Caribbean countries, and under the CANTA umbrella, CANTA, which is the Caribbean Association of National Training Authorities. So my role as ED takes me at a national level, but it also takes me at a regional level. And so we have in our office a number of persons who fall under my supervision, which comes from quality assurance, training and standards. You have data management, and so you have the IT guys and your admin staff. So we have a broad area to cover within the SLC TVET. But as I said to you, the essential role that I play is like the key custodian of this whole coordinating, the element of coordination, right, for TVET in the island.
What would you say is the difference between the TVET unit and the TVET council? I know we are in it, so we may not see that, but to the person who is falling upon this podcast or upon this TVET transformation for the first time, explain what is the difference between the two entities and what they hope to serve.
Well, actually, I'm happy you're asking that question because many people call the TVET unit for the council. And I remember being at a meeting where someone says, I've been calling your office for so long and no one is answering the phone. And I'm asking, what number did you call? And they called the TVET unit all the time. I'm not saying that no one answered the phone at the TVET unit. I'm just saying that they were calling at the lunchtime on that particular day. And I guess the staff would have been
to reach you.
Right, trying to reach my office. But the TVET unit is within the Ministry of Education and they oversee the activities within the schools. Our role, however, is to coordinate TVET in the island. Now, one will say, but Mr. Dollars, doesn't that involve the Ministry of Education? Yes, it does, but we fall under the Ministry of Education umbrella, all right? Because the legislative part that governs the actions of the councils fall within the Education Act. However, the difference, is we have the coordinating responsibility. Their coordinating responsibility lies within the schools, but ours lie in general within the island, everything that has to do with TVET within the island. And so, as part of that coordination, one of the things that we ensure in terms of we quality assure the system in terms of the quality of the instructions, the quality of the standards used. We quality assure the instructors and facilitators, right? All of these are part and parcels of that responsibility in coordinating. Fundamentally, these coordinating activities are not independent of the guidelines that are set at the regional level, right? As I said to you, we are also involved with CANTA. CANTA is our regional organization, and they have set the guidelines. And
the organization for the council?
No, it is the regional organization that has been established by CARICOM, right, to oversee and coordinate the activities of regional NTAs. And so there are guidelines set, which we follow, just like Heart Trust Jamaica follow, NTATT, Ghana, Barbados, Grenada, St. Vincent, Antigua, St. Kitts, all of us, right? We follow those guidelines. And these quality assurance guidelines quality assure what we do here. And so at the end of the day, we are not separated in any way from the TVET unit, right? Which also have these guidelines also serve some of what they do. And at the end, as a council, we look at ourselves as not just the custodian of all of this, but we look at ourselves as the instrument that says, okay, fine, we are going to quality assure our persons participating in training, looking for their certification. And that is important because over the years, what we have had is that we have had people coming in to train our people. Some of them get certificates of participation. But when you go and examine what they did, was it against a standard? And all of these things are important because for us, one of the essential elements of the quality assurance process is the instruction. How do we bring the trainee or the candidate to the level of where he is assessed to be certified? And that is important because the methodology used, what we call the competency-based training methodology, that is a fundamental aspect of it all, because your ordinary teaching in a classroom is not the same as CBET methodology, which is competency-based. And so in going forward, our responsibility, as I said, as a council, is to make sure we are quality assured all of this that is happening within the various players or stakeholders of our education system.
Okay, well put. I think that that definitely brings some light between the two organizations. I want to ask you something regarding the role of your collaboration. How does the how does the council collaborate with educators and industry professionals to ensure relevancy and quality and all the monitoring and evaluation policies and processes that you put forward?
Okay, now that's a very good question. One element of it that in the persons that you're speaking about, you need to also put in industry in there, because industry has to inform what happens within those education units, basically. So because those units are preparing persons for the job market, and industry informs the education system as to what is it they need, so that the education system, when I say the education system, I'm not only talking about just the secondary schools, I'm talking about all training units.
All right.
How they inform these education systems, units, right, to prepare their curriculum, prepare their training schedules. And in that way, we are training persons to meet job market requirements. Now, if I just focus on job market requirements for a moment, currently we are in the throes of conducting a labor market assessment. The last one was, I think, in 2012. These labor market assessments are very important because they inform what happens within the training realm. For us as a council, it is important for us to play that role in the labor market assessment of the data and monitoring it. Because if we don't, it means that we will not be able to give guidance to the training units within the system. So we have to play a very fundamental role in getting to understand the knowledge of what is it. That's why our interaction with industry is very important. And over the last couple of months, we have heightened that interaction with industry. And what we have done, especially even at the level of one of our key industries, which is the hospitality sector, we have engaged them to the point where we are now moving towards creating standards that they can use in their training divisions. And in doing that, we are also certifying some of their training individuals in the TVET methodology so that they can impart it within the institution, so that the certification now that they are using is not just the certification from the various hotels or wherever. It is now using original certification. So that level of interaction with industry and the education system plays a very, very vital role within the whole TVET sphere.
So it's beyond an assessment, it's a consultation, it's a bit of a marriage at this point.
That's right. It's a marriage, and you quite rightly said it's a marriage. You cannot divorce yourself from industry, because industry is the thing that drives the economy.
Right.
And you have to provide the environment for industry to flourish. So therefore, what industry requires, you now have to meet the requirements so that you can provide industry these things. And so right now, as you know, within the education system, you have now had the shift where they have given priority to the 4 in the schools. They have set up 4 schools, and that is a plus, right, to the existing system that is existing. And for the other secondary schools, where they also set TVET courses and TVET certification, we have that opportunity in the country now to actually give our young persons the options that we didn't have as young persons. They have that opportunity. And every parent, every employer, we are encouraging them to take an avid interest in the desires of their children. When a child says to a mother, I am interested in X, you need to be guided by that interest and go forward looking at what has been offered within the education system to ensure that that child reaches their optimum. And so for us, as an executive director of this NTA particularly, we use these opportunities when we hear of what industry is operating. We also engage with the other NTAs within the other regions to get a feel for what they're doing. So we take the best from other areas, apply it to us where it's applicable, and so we make it work, basically, make fit for purpose, if want of a better phrase. We are not we are not an island of ourselves. We don't operate in isolation. We ought to be able to work with every single unit, as I said, within the education system, also within the industry, and also within the regional context. We have to work with them to bring out the best for TVET in solution.
Are you seeing more kickback or more acceptance of the CVQ, NVQ integration into our society, workforce and education system?
Now, you asked the question that takes me, let me just go retrospectively a bit. You see, back then, our mindset was TVET was for persons who were not academically
inclined or good with their hands, right?
Right. That was, in my mind, the wrong approach. Today, we are slowly but surely getting a shift in that mindset so that people come to understand that TVET is not for persons who are not academically inclined. Because an engineer is, in and of itself, a TVET area. But I ask a simple person to tell you, TVET is not for somebody. I want to ask you, would you take somebody who cannot add one-on-one to wire your house? Right? So it means that TVET is a marriage within every sphere of the education system. And as a graduate of the Castries Comprehensive School, I can tell you, I benefited from that because today I still can tile my house. Right? I don't have to hire a tiler. And that's a good marriage between what you call academic and technical. So for those who are there who still hold that mindset, I say it's time to change. But I'm happy that the mindset is slowly but surely changing.
I'm happy that it is changing. Having benefited from going to a comprehensive school as well, there are certain lessons that stay with you, like you rightfully mentioned, and you could see the imparting of that into the society later down the line. The generations to come will be so much better equipped than generations gone by. I think that you have had a lot of unexplored potential from the generations past because of a lack of opportunity to explore where their true interest lies, and perhaps you find that the society may have just settled on what is available. And with what you mentioned earlier in terms of the assessment of the industry, I can see that creating a more holistic society as far as workforce development is concerned, and giving students the opportunity to explore their passions. I think it would reduce the stress levels. I think it would reduce the angst around selecting subjects. What am I going to do for a profession? It's not just you have these traditional subjects, and then if you get to, or if you could afford to do something on the side or be privy to learning from somebody more experienced and then executing it from there.
Yeah.
So I'm happy, and I'm looking forward to that version of society where these things are more prevalent, where this is more prevalent.
Okay, beautiful. I'm going to say to you that as the TVET Council recognized the whole new thrust and understanding what the TVET unit is doing, we have now taken on the initiative, right, to introduce, say, okay, we're going to pilot a summer camp, introducing TVET to young persons who are ages 9 to 14 years of age. We're just piloting it at this stage. Because remember, we want to introduce TVET very early on, very early in the game to students, so that they can make that choice, especially when they make their choices, when they do the examination to pick which school they're going to. We want to see that they can make a deliberate choice, and I would like to do X, Y, and go to this school to pursue X, Y, and Z. So we want to ensure that these young persons get introduced to TVET very early, Our hope is that we will do this on a national level every year, but this year we are trying to pilot it in one community at this point in time. For us at the unit, when we look at activities such as the summer camp, we also look at activities of bringing in industry into the summer camp. So the industry now begins to interact with young persons and give them an opportunity to follow those young persons throughout the education system, throughout the education from primary right through to secondary and to
tertiary and beyond.
So, and beyond. So in other words, we are giving an opportunity to young persons. So we can take them from the point where they say, I have an interest in beekeeping, and you watch them go along as they grow within the education system. So that is one of the reasons behind the camp at this point in time.
I think that's brilliant. And I look forward to seeing these initiatives, and I'm sure that they would multiply as we go along. I would like to ask you, Mr. Thomas, as the Executive Director, how long have you been ED?
I took on a role from May of 2023 to the present.
What position did you hold a position within the council previously?
No, I did not.
So you're fresh into this?
I'm fresh into the office and into the council, but not fresh into TVET in essence. My history, if I just may take a few seconds, it goes way back, but I want to take it from the days when I was at NSDC as the community outreach officer, going out in the community to sell the program, what was being offered. And this was the time when you get to really understand the mindsets of people, what they are looking for in terms of training, what is it that they require. And so it really set the tone. And from there on, I've been involved in training as a consultant, doing some work, skills training in areas for some companies, for a few people. And coming into this area, the last and the most eventful thing prior to this job in terms of training was when I sat as the director of the NICE program, where we had a lot of training being done and going through the process of certification, because we saw the need for the certification and what called workforce development. And that was essential because the caregivers program, which is now available, the production persons were there, even in the field maintenance, those persons were certified in these areas. And these training programs were seen as being essential, because if you're going to have persons in your workforce, you want to ensure that your workforce is certified. They have the capacity to deliver, so that if any company wishes to acquire, say, or go for a consultancy overseas, the persons want to know that the persons who are applying have the capacity within the institutions, not just in talent, but they are certified persons.
And one of the advantages that this transformation project offers is that you can travel between various Caribbean islands with the same sort of regional standard and certification.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. What would you say are maybe the biggest or some of the biggest challenges that you are experiencing in this council with the quality assurance that you do?
Okay, now that's a loaded
question.
It's a loaded question, and I can say to you that refreshing the pool can be a challenge, especially when you're looking for new areas for areas of instruction. We're talking about new technology of electric vehicles. So now you're looking for instructors to certify for that area. You're looking for assessors for that area. So it's a challenge, but it's not one that is insurmountable. It can be done. You find the persons, you reach out, and you get them. But refreshing the pool of assessors and verifiers and all of that, it can become a little challenging when you know your resources are limited at this point in time, but it is not something you cannot overcome. It is something that we are working towards, and we're working towards it every day especially the standards department, the quality assurance department, they at it all the time. So that we must ensure our people a level of quality assurance that, they have confidence. Yeah, I have the certificate and it is backed by that quality assurance.
What about QA for the curriculum, if that exists?
Now, QA for the curriculum, our curriculum specialist is also on board. And that is part of our responsibility. But we do not operate independently, as I'm saying to you, as I said earlier. We work with the other regions. So sometimes our resources we may lack a resource in one area. So we reach out to another sister country who has the resource, and we draw from there. And so we make sure that that system of quality assurance is well tied, well down packed, well tied, so that we give, as I said, our people the assurance that whatever certificate they are getting, it is quality assurance.
I know you mentioned the hospitality industry earlier, but is there any specific industry that you are looking forward to seeing progression happen in the future where this is concerned?
Well, all industries.
Any particular one, or two or three?
All. I cannot say one single one. I have to say all, because we have to ensure that all aspects of our economic development is brought into focus. We are moving into new technologies, for instance. The whole idea of the green, blue, and orange economy. Right? These are new terms. But a lot of the work that is being there has been there before. So we now have to bring them into focus. And say, for instance, in the blue economy, our fishermen, they've been there. But when you talk about coral reef restoration, that is different, because the fishermen, their livelihoods depend on the coral reef. Restoring the coral reef will ensure that the fishermen's livelihood is guaranteed. Likewise, it also helps the tourism industry. So there's a multifaceted approach, really, to the blue economy aspect of it, because it touches more than one area. Again, as I said to you, I don't want to say one industry. I just want to say all industries.
I was looking to see if there's a particular industry, because, we don't benefit equally from the country. When I say we, the country doesn't benefit equally from every single industry. Some, at different times in history, would push the GDP, would push the advancement of the country more to the forefront than others. So I was trying to pick your brain on if you're looking for anything particular in that. But shifting gears for a second as we wrap up, Mr. Thomas, if you could tell me, on average, in terms of CVQ and NVQ numbers or certificates, do you have any statistics that you could share with my audience about that?
Okay, my office over the years, remember we've been here for a very long time. They have done over 5,000 plus certificates issued. And as you on that note, I want to just say to those persons from the OACS skills program that still have certificates, please come to collect them in my office. Right, it is there. At the same time, what we have set a target within the policy and strategy to deliver at least 300 to 400 certificates on a yearly basis. And since I came into office, we have gotten to that point, delivering that level of certification. Going back one step to the challenge, just a challenge in terms of certification, is that the aspect that we talk about paying for assessments, one of the things that our office have done is we reviewed the fees to make it more affordable for persons, lowering the cost. So to persons out there who wish to acquire acquire their certification, please make an effort, come to the office, especially those who are pursuing the APL, who wants to do APL, which is Assessment of Prior Learning. Please come to the office. We have lowered the fees so that you can acquire the assessment, acquire the certification for assessment. So we have that opportunity at this point in time. So everyone has that opportunity. Come.
What would you say briefly, within a minute if you can, to parents and the general public on the opportunity for students to achieve occupational certification at the 4 schools?
Okay, to all parents out there, do not run away from pursuing a TVET education for your son or your daughter, skills training is vital. It is the way of the world. It is the way to go now. So if your daughter is interested in electrical installation, don't say this is not a girl's thing, right? If your son is interested in beekeeping, don't say that's not for you. And do not box your students. Do not box the young people into areas that are not of the interest, as it has shown over time that the young persons who have been boxed into areas over time, if you look at the progress, we come back to the table and say, if only I had. And so right now they have an opportunity, give it to them.
Thank you very much, Mr. Thomas. If the public has to reach the council for anything, how is best do they connect with you?
They can do that slctvet.org. We have the webpage there. We have the SLCTVET website. We have the Facebook page also. And so they can reach out, even my telephone, our office, and they can also reach me.
Thank you again very much, Mr. Thomas.
You're welcome.
I appreciate the conversation. Looking forward to having you here for maybe a panel discussion next time.
Yes, I'm open to that. We're always ready and willing as a council to have that discussion.
Thank you again.
Yes, thanks for the opportunity.
That's it, guys. That was another episode of Talking TVET with Phil Henderson. I was joined by the Executive Director of the St. Lucia TVET Council. Join us again for another episode, and remember to subscribe if you are following us on any of the digital channels. Otherwise, I'll see you next week.
Okay.